From the flight deck to your TV set, you're watching 5 Minutes with Herb.
From the flight deck to your TV set, you're watching 5 Minutes with Herb. I'm your host, Herb Jackson, and my goal here today is to make this the best 5 minutes of your day. So I ask that you sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome aboard. Today, I'm very pleased to have our guest, Kurt Yue. Kurt is a working actor who has booked over 50 roles in television and movies. Some of his television shows you might have seen him on are Insatiable, Smoketown, and my favorite, Cobra Kai. So without further ado, let's welcome aboard my man, Kurt Yue. How did you end up on the big screen?
Honestly, I just kind of fell into an acting class by almost by accident, just because I was looking for something fun to do after work, other than just going to happy hours with my friends. That got kind of old after a while. So we were looking for something like an actual thing to go to after work. And we happened to just stumble upon this acting school. And this was when I was living in Cleveland, Ohio. And we happened to stumble upon this acting school and joined it just for fun, not with no thoughts of trying to do a career change or anything like that. Cause I hadn't done any acting in high school or college or anything like that. So that's how I got into it. And everything just kind of, progressed from there.
What were some of your early struggles during that time?
The people that I met in acting class, so many people started when they were young. Like they've been doing plays since elementary school or something like that. Yeah. So for me, everything was so brand new to me. And another part of it was that I also, because I got into it, not really with no expectations and not knowing anything about the industry. I think the early struggles had a lot to do with just not understanding how the business side of it worked, what auditions were like, and how to actually go about, doing all that stuff. And it was great having, my teacher as a mentor, and then also the other students in the class that had been doing it for a little while.
How does being in a hot market help an actor?
Oh, so much. Well, I mean, there's the trade-off, right? So there's coming down here, there's a lot more competition for one, but at the same time, there's just so much more opportunity here. I remember being in a market like in Cleveland, Ohio, where we would get, there were no television shows filming in that market, and there might be one, maybe two movies a year that would come into town and would be filming. And sometimes those movies wouldn't even be casting speaking roles. A lot of them would only be casting background. Actually, but if they were casting speaking roles, we might get an audition because we had an agent there. And it would be, whenever you would get an audition for a movie back then, it would be that one time a year, and everybody's heads would explode, and you'd work on this audition for 4 or 5 days for your 2 lines. Whereas coming down to Atlanta, it's just been such a huge difference. It's been mind blowing for me coming down here, because I went from getting maybe 1 or 2 film and television auditions a year to over 100 a year. So my first year, with my agent in Atlanta, I got over 120 film and television auditions. So that's it's just night and day. There's no comparison.
Right now, you're on Cobra Kai, playing George.
Yes.
I got to ask, I heard the story a little bit. Can you tell us about the audition process for that role on Cobra Kai?
Yeah, that was really interesting. I talked a little bit about it on my YouTube channel. So when I first got an audition for Cobra Kai, I think when I first heard about the show, because one of my friends got an audition, and they said, I got this audition for a show called Cobra Kai. And I was like, Cobra Kai, that's from the Karate Kid. I wonder if that has any connection, because sometimes, there'll be a name, but there's no connection. And then, we did some research on it and found out that it was basically a retelling of the story, 20, 30 years into the future of Cobra Kai, or of the Karate Kid, using the same characters, but now, they're all grown adults now. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And then I got an audition for it, and I was like, oh, this is great. And it's so fun because, being an 80s kid and watching those movies growing up, now, getting an opportunity to audition for something like that. So I got my first audition. The casting director reached out and said they liked it, but that role just wasn't right for me. So they wanted to bring me in for a different role. Then I went in and read for another role, and then a third role. Eventually, they wanted to book me on one of the roles that I read for, but I had a scheduling conflict and I couldn't do it. And I was really bummed because I was so excited to work on Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
And then like a week or two later, that I got a call from my agent, and they said, hey, they want to book you for a different character, something completely different than what you read for. And I was like, yeah, that's great. So I ended up booking a role that I didn't audition for, but it worked out really well because it ended up being a recurring role. I got to work on multiple episodes and hopefully, in multiple seasons as well.
You and I both, I ended up binge watching seasons 1 and 2 so I could get through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And you're right. The 80s references are just unbelievable. I just love that show. It is so great. So I got to ask, when you heard about Cobra Kai, were you familiar with the Karate Kid and the backstory and everything that goes with that?
Yeah, I mean, to an extent, I remembered the movies from when I watched them as a kid. I have not watched them since, but definitely the characters are so iconic, and I'm pretty sure I've only seen each movie one time, maybe at most twice. But like I said, the characters are so memorable and then there's just so many references to it you've heard throughout your life. You hear about the wax on, wax off throughout your entire life. Like Mr. Miyagi is just such a memorable character from movies in general.
Yeah, myself too. I was thinking about that as I was watching Cobra Kai. I'm like, I really need to go back and rewatch Karate Kid, because like you say, there's so much interwoven in there. And I know there's like little nuggets, like you say, that I probably missed myself. You created the Acting Career Center. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I created the YouTube channel. Was originally titled Small Market Actor when I was in Ohio. I started my YouTube channel in 2015 or 2014, around then. And originally the intention was to have it be a resource for people that were in small markets like Cleveland, like a place that really didn't have any film and television work, but I wanted to spread the information for people who really didn't know how to get into the industry. It was really for a YouTube channel for people like me at the time, where before I took an acting class in Ohio, I was totally naive to how local commercials and stuff were made. I just assumed that everything we saw on TV was made in Hollywood, which, if you really think about it, it doesn't make sense to make a local commercial for a local car dealership all the way out in California. But, if you never really have that cross your mind, then, you never really even consider it. So I started making that YouTube channel originally for actors in a small market. And then when I moved down to Atlanta, I wasn't in a small market anymore. I was like, maybe I'll just rebrand this channel and just talk about the film and television industry, because I've been able to work on that over the past few years. So now that's really the intent of it, is to spread information about how people can get their careers started in the acting industry. I'm not a huge celebrity star or anything like that. So I can't tell someone how to, become a lead character in a Marvel movie or something, but I can definitely help the people who are just getting their careers off the ground and trying to just get into acting classes, get an agent, start auditioning, start booking if they can, that type of stuff.
That's why I come across your stuff on YouTube. All the information is very, very valuable. It helps out guys like me. And that's why I wanted to have you on the show, so we can spread that word and others can take a look and learn from that also. Before we go, it's the actingcareercenter.com, correct?
Yeah, that's my website. And then my YouTube channel is the same thing. If you just search for Acting Career Center on YouTube, you'll find the YouTube channel.
Perfect. Well, Kurt, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. However, before we let you go, I got to get you into the lightning round.
All right, let's do it.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Speaking of mentors, who would you rather prefer to have as a mentor? Mr. Miyagi or John Kreese?
Oh, Mr. Miyagi for sure.
Who's a better sensei, Daniel LaRusso or Johnny Lawrence?
I'm going to go with Daniel LaRusso.
Who's a better student, Miguel or Robbie?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm going to say Robbie.
Taking you back to the day, better entertainment district, the Flats or Buckhead?
Oh, I have to go with the Flats because I grew up there. And Buckhead, now I'm a little bit older. I don't go out as much, right? So I definitely spent more time hanging out at the Flats for sure.
Oh, Kurt, thank you so much for playing along. I really appreciate having you on today. Folks, once again, that's 5 Minutes with Herb. Make sure you go out, check out Cobra Kai, go to your streaming systems, seasons 1 and 2, check it out. And my man, George, he kills it. I love the show. Kurt, once again, thanks for joining me.